So this is an anonymized video that I'm recording for one of my coaching clients after a call that I had with them last week. I've taken out all of the context and all of the information about the agency owner, but here's my suggestions after just a 1 hour call of finding out more about their current sales process, their pipeline, and also their key challenges with sales. So my first suggestion was around the sales process. I then talked about pipeline optimization. We then moved on to account management and then also generating pipeline through outbound and other strategies as well. But first of all, with the sales process, it was clear that they needed to better qualify the prospects that they were having conversations with. So I suggested that they pre-qualify prospects with additional questions when they book a call. So either that's a form on your website or directly on Calendly or any other meeting booking software. I really recommend using Calendly to remove the friction that it takes for prospects to book a call with you. Just imagine that your prospects are on your website and also looking at some of your competitors as well. And if your competitor website allows them to book a call instantly, they're going to have that conversation with that competitor quicker than you if it's taken you some time to manually check every email or form that comes in and then for you to reply to them. So until the point where you just literally have too many meetings booked in your calendar or that the quality of the meetings aren't good, definitely use Calendly or any other meeting booking software to really speed up that beginning of the sales process. We also discussed about spending more time on qualification in the first call and then moving on to the discovery call if they are a fit. They mentioned that a lot of their discovery calls would end up not being qualified. So what I suggested is that they do a 15-minute qualification call and then book a half an hour discovery call because that's how long they need. Depending on your model, depending on your pricing, you may be able to do this in one call as well. But it really does depend on your actual model here. Another tip here is that when you've got the prospect on a call, on that qualification call, and they are qualified, then get them to book in that second meeting whilst they're on the call with you. Don't just send a follow-up email hoping that they'll pick a time. When a prospect isn't qualified, a lot of agency owners don't even bother sending a follow up. I've always encouraged my clients and the agencies that I've run to send follow up emails to those people, even if they aren't qualified. And usually, what I do is refer them to either other people who might be in a better situation to help them, or to resources where they can maybe even do some of it themselves as well. The reason why I do this is because it just might not be the right timing. That prospect might leave to a new job a few months later and they remember that experience they had with you. It sounds very basic, but a lot of agencies don't do these basic fundamentals that really help them stand out against a very crowded market. And then also when it comes to your proposals, make sure that you're adding relevant social proof or customer testimonials. Oftentimes, a proposal is built once with some standard case studies, but I always like to swap out those case studies and put in the ones that are most relevant. If you're sending a proposal to a financial technology company, then use a case study or testimonial of another financial technology company that you've worked with. Ideally, it's the same type of company at a very similar stage in the same industry. If that's not possible, default back to the use cases or the challenges that the prospects are having, because it's likely that you've got a case study of a different type of organization, but you've helped them overcome the challenges that they were facing as well. Then we moved on to pipeline optimization. So this was all about making sure that you have a follow-up process in between deal stages. A lot of the reasons why the sales cycle increases is because there isn't clear steps when it comes to moving prospects throughout the pipeline. What I encourage here is to have a template that you can use for all of the different stages, and you might need multiple emails. I do have a number of templates here that I've built out for my customers where 80% of the message is written and the remaining 20% is for you to personalize that message to the prospect. In this personalization, I recommend that you use the customer language that they use during the qualification and discovery calls. If they brought up any objections, that you can use the email follow-ups to educate around that objection in an attempt to overcome the objection as well. And also, if they're talking about specific use cases or specific things that they are really interested in or what's very important to them, you can also add those into the follow-up messages as well. There was also some discussion around close lost plays. So thinking about how to recover close lost revenue here. So a lot of times prospects will come to you and it's just not the right time, or it might be that they've chosen to work with a competitor, or it might be that they just don't have the right budget. That essentially just means that they're not right for right now, but they could do in the future. What I recommend to all of my customers is to build out a lead list of these prospects and follow those prospects on LinkedIn so you can keep up to date with any changes. There was one example in a previous agency where our main point of contact completely ghosted us. However, he was made redundant and started a new role about 2 months later. Because I was following him on LinkedIn and I was attempting to speak to him on LinkedIn, but when I saw that job update change on LinkedIn, I then reached out to him, and of course, it explained the reason why he went silent. And he turned out to be a customer in the new company that he went to. We don't really know what's going on in our prospects' lives as much as we'd like to. So, having a lead list on LinkedIn, you can use Sales Navigator or some Boolean searches to build these lists and just keep on top of all of these prospects because simply it just might not be the right time. So then moving on to the account management. So one thing that I discuss with all of my customers is that onboarding is extremely important when it comes to sales. The sale doesn't actually finish once that check is collected or that invoice is paid. So I've got a framework of talking through how to design an exceptional onboarding experience for customers. And it's really important that the handover process between sales and to the client delivery team is thorough and that the customer doesn't feel like any context has been lost as well. Another exercise that I recommend people go through and do is thinking about the moments that matter. These are the key milestones that your customers have throughout their journey of working with you. And it helps you understand that there may be some reasons why customers are churning. So, as part of this exercise, I recommend that everybody sits down and works out what are the reasons why customers churn. Are there any patterns that you can see there? Are there any timelines that typically happen in? So if a lot of customers are churning after the 3 month mark, then what might you need to do to speed up your delivery to create more value before those 3 months come and that customer churns as well? With these moments that matter and the milestones that your customers are experiencing, you can then start to tie in check-ins with them, ask for feedback. I definitely recommend that either the salesperson or the agency owner does the check-in and the feedback, especially if you've got account managers or other team members, project managers maybe, that are working directly with the client. You'll get much more honest feedback if it's somebody who's external to the ongoing day-to-day work with that client as well. This also helps you think about expansion revenue, and you can tie in these check-ins to those customer milestones that you've mapped out in the moments that matter exercise. And these should be focused around your delivery, but also the customer's success as well. So not just when you do things as promised in the sales process for when you're delivering to your client, but there may be a little bit of a time lag between when you've implemented, let's say, a new landing page for a prospect, and then that customer starts to see people interacting with that or converting on that page as well. When their prospects are converting on that page, that's a moment where your customers actually see the value that you've delivered. It wasn't just the design and build of that website landing page, just as an example. And then finally, we talked about generating pipeline. With outbound prospecting, then there's lots of low-hanging fruit opportunities to increase reply rates. It is easier said than done. Typically, when I look at the prospecting campaigns of my customers, they're either not targeting the right prospects in the first place, they're not focusing on triggers and signals and key moments that would make a prospect more likely to need the service or solution that the agency is selling. They often don't fully understand the buyer persona and the challenges that they have. The messaging is very much about the agency and how amazing they are, not about the prospect and not about the problems that they're facing, and not alluding to how the agency can actually help that prospect overcome those challenges. And oftentimes the call to action is a little bit too strong or a little bit too forward. It's asking for a demo on Thursday at 3 p.m. when really you should be aiming for a reply, simply just getting a reply. Email deliverability is another key thing to talk about as well, which I go into a lot more detail in the program. Also, some other low-hanging fruit is just to improve the website messaging. Make sure that the content and the copy is outcome focused, so not about you, but actually about the prospects and the challenges that they may face. And last of all, explore some other lead generation strategies. I've got a whole list of different lead generation strategies and my recommendations of when they can be used and what is the likely timeline for a lead generation strategy to start kicking in. For me, outbound is the quickest way to get replies and start having meetings, but other strategies are effective, but they just may take a little bit longer. That gives you just a bit of a flavor from one call and the recommendations that I can give from working with my agency clients. If you're interested in finding out more about the Agency Sales Design program, please do let me know. You can visit agencysalesdesign.com/L. Thank you.